It's going to be a big week of racing here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, and it's Bonssa Tufa, the week that we have been waiting for and counting down for the better part of a year.
Yes, SRX is here for the third time in the last 3 years. Second time they're opening their season up, and what a lineup. Not just of those who are coming back, like Tony Stewart, defending champion Marco Andretti, but you got a lot of new drivers coming in, like Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Brad Keselowski, and more. It's such a star-studded lineup. They're all in equal cars, so it's a matter of who drives the best at the half mile.
Last year's series champion back as well for Marco Andretti. You can see them setting up behind us. David Stremme on the racetrack today. He was busy, the only driver to shake all of the cars down in preparation of practice tomorrow afternoon.
And that's a difficult task because you have to shake it down to make sure each car is as close to being equal as possible to give every driver a fair shot. And we saw him, it's 700 horsepower, so you could hear the wheels spin. They really have to be steady with the throttle, like there's an eggshell underneath it. So it's going to take a lot of finesse to master Stafford in SRX.
The return of Thursday Night Thunder here from the Stafford Motor Speedway, and if you can't be here, it'll be on ESPN 9 o'clock Eastern Time. But Bonssa SRX isn't the only division racing here on Thursday night. Our very own SK Modifieds will be highlighted as well.
And they'll be put to the test because they got a doubleheader racing Thursday and Friday. So it's not just about winning the race. You got to get through Thursday to make sure you're set for Friday, especially if you're battling for the championship. Last time the SK Modifieds raced on SRX Day, it was Steven Kopchik that got the win, and he's our only repeat winner this season thus far.
The last time the SK Modifieds ran, though, last Friday night, it was a big win for Keith Rocco.
First win in Dan Avery's 22 car by about 0.03 of a second. Jimmy Blewett gave one shot at Rocco coming to the checkered flag. And you knew at some point it was going to come down to a battle between Rocco and Blewett, two of the eldest drivers, I guess, in the division, which is crazy to think because Rocco's not even 40 years old.
Right.
But they've been doing it for such a long time. They have such a high respect for each other. So when they go at it on the track, you know it's going to be good. And it was a good one. Side by side at the line, Rocco came out just a bit ahead while Jimmy Blewett got another top two finish, which is why he's still the point leader.
Yeah, so many finishes on the podium this year for Jimmy Blewett. One other driver that struggled last week, we didn't even see him for the feature, is Noah Corner.
Yeah, man, what can you even say about that 31 team? Motor problems for the third time this season. It's just bad luck at this rate. I mean, it really is. They couldn't get the car turned over in the pits before going out for the feature, and they're bummed out about it. But Corner and that team know they have speed. They have a top 5. They got a few top 10s. Even Spring Sizzler weekend, you mentioned our SK Rundown, he lost a motor.
Yep.
He was running top 5 when that happened. So he's got good speed. But one, don't slide for the scare of your life through the infield grass like a couple weeks ago. And two, let's keep the mechanical problems on the side.
And you talk about them getting things turned over, or having a tough time turning it over. It's going to be a quick turnaround here at the Speedway between Thursday night's race program and Fridays, as all of our divisions will be back here at the Speedway on Friday night, including the SK Modifieds, along with the late models. We had another great race a week ago with a familiar name in Victory Lane.
Yeah, it was. The late models have been really tight this year, as I mentioned before. Week in and week out, half the field have a chance to win a race, and Tom Fern got back to Victory Lane for the first time since Spring Sizzler weekend. That's his 81st career win at Stafford, which tied Woody Pitkat for all of about 2 hours because Woody won the Open 80 later that night. But you said it before, Kyle. The heat of the summer is the right time for Tom, and he showed it last Friday. The week before, that car was all twisted up after a wreck. Now in Victory Lane, he's still got a little bit of ground to make up because Kevin Gambacorta got a second-place finish.
And you mentioned Kevin Gambacorta. That 23 car has been so stout lately and so consistent the last month especially.
They figured something out, and if they keep this going, it's going to be tough for the rest of the field because once Gambacorta gets hot, no pun intended with the weather, he's going to be tough to beat. He's the only multi-time winner until Tom Fern won, so we'll see if the 23 can still hold his own. He said last year, DNFs killed that team. He kept getting caught up in accidents, whether of his own doing or not. So far, he's kept it clean, but can he keep that going?
We'll find out come Friday night in the SK Light Modifieds. Another young driver, familiar to the racetrack because he's the defending champion, but he finally got to Victory Lane in his championship defense.
Yeah, Tyler Berry, who the last 2 seasons waited a long time to get that first win of the year, got it done in the beginning of summer. And he had that car all cut apart this past week, July 4th week, trying to figure out what was wrong with it. It wasn't responding to the adjustments they made. It wasn't driving like how it was last year when they won the title. Well, I guess cutting that car up paid off because he took the lead, held off Nick Englaze, and got the victory. In the big picture, Brian Sullivan, another consistent run. He's the point leader.
And top 9 finishes in all races thus far this season.
Yep.
Hard to do in a field that averages, what, 32, 33 cars?
Yes, and there's so many of them that can compete for the win. They're so tight when you look at the times. It's not easy to go through the field starting 13th, 14th, 15th every single Friday. But Sullivan has done it, and he's done it without running into trouble.
In the limited late models, it was another 2-time champion in victory lane, and Jeremy Lavoie.
A very clean race for the limited late models, and Lavoie gets his second win of the season. I mentioned, like Barry, Jeremy Lavoie, the last couple years, it took him a while to get going. He's already got 2 victories this season, and he still has the point lead. Kevin Cormier and Matt Clement, after their little run-in a couple weeks ago, they both had clean runs, finishing in the top 5, but it's Lavoie on top.
And in the street stocks, somebody was able to finally dethrone Ryan Waterman and Travis Hydar, who had the division covered in the opening 7 weeks of the season. But last week, Travis Downey got to Napa victory lane.
Made the winning pass with about 2 laps to go in Aaron Plemons. Plemons just kind of missed turn 1 a little bit, slid up the track, and that opened the door for Downey to get his first win of the season after he had such a bad start to the year, having DNFs on lap 1, lap 2 in the first couple weeks. Slowly getting back in the groove of things. I mean, he won 3 races last year, and all 3 of those came from July onwards. So when that 42 is on a roll, they're really good. So we'll see if that team can keep that momentum going, getting the win. Ryan Waterman finished 4th. Travis Hydar finished 2nd.
Kind of the best of the rest right now for Travis Downey, behind Travis Hydar and Ryan Waterman. Still pretty tight atop the championship standings, just 12 points between them.
And they each have a DNF. So really, you can't afford to have another one. You're lucky enough to have 1 DNF while the other driver has 1. But if you get another one and the other driver runs clean, there's no turning back.
Those are just some of the storylines coming into a big 2 days of racing here at the Stafford Motor Speedway, beginning on Thursday with the 3rd running of the Superstar Racing Experience. Things kick off at 6 o'clock on Flow Racing with the SK Modifieds before making the move to ESPN at 9 p.m. for SRX. And on Friday, all 5 of our divisions are back here for a regular race program beginning at 6 o'clock. And if you can't be here in person, you can tune us in on Flow Racing.